once again, I am in defense of the culture and in the defense of hip hop. I'm not excusing the images at all. Let me say that first. But I just want everyone to understand that hip hop is a snowball. The images that we're seeing today are the result of a smaller snowball, and that's all it is. I am a huge fan of the blaxploitation era and blaxploitation movies, and the exact same images that we see in hip hop. There is a proliferation of them. You know, there's a lot more now, but those exact same images, that same degrading of women, the same language, like everything, the same glorification of the gangster lifestyle and the flashiness is all from these movies like Dolomite.
And I'm so glad you're bringing up that point, because with a movie, guess what? You have to have money. You may have to have a car, or at least a friend with a car, so you can get to it. You have to choose to move over to that movie and go to that movie. But you know what? You could be standing outside waiting for the streetcar, and somebody with those degrading lyrics can drive up and wait at the red light, and you are exposed to it. So you don't have a choice with that. Whereas with a movie, you have to. With television, you have to turn it on. With a book, you have to open it. With a magazine, you have to read it. But with hip-hop, it's just there.
Once again, going back, we'll keep it on music. We'll keep it on music. Now, I don't know how many people in the audience remember a song from a Baton Rouge artist called Webby. That was like his one of his first big, national singles called "Gimme That." Just raise your hand. I'm not gonna finish the title of the song. Basically, it's "Gimme That Vagina."
For the old people.
Yes. I won't say the real word, but
the real word.
What? When I first when I heard that song and I heard the criticisms about it, the first song that came into my head was "Give It to Me, Baby" by Rick James. Mm-hmm. Give me that funk, that sweet, that funky stuff, and he's talking about the exact same thing, and the lyrics are a bit more poetic, I guess. Mm-hmm. They're a bit more poetic, but the content is still the same. So I see hip hop as being it's being stripped down from the poetry that was, Earth, Wind and Fire songs like "Reasons" that are about a one night stand, and other songs from these great soul artists who we hold in such high regard, like, oh, that's when love was love and music was really music, and the content in the same way that they perceived women is just a lot less pretty.
Yeah, but it's a difference. It's a difference in saying "Give me that stuff" and "I love you." Mm-hmm. Right. There's a major difference.
And being more graphic.
And it's less graphic. If you say "I love you" instead of "Give me that funky stuff," who wants to hear that?
Rick James was a great artist.
I love Rick James. I'm not saying that Rick James
was controversial as well.
He was controversial in his time as well.
It
was controversial in his time as well. I think music is not going to change, and people's perspective of that is not going to change.
Exactly.
It's never going to change. Music will be music, and it has its purpose in our lives. That's either to party or to have a good time with your lady. It's one of those things.
That's right. And so the point I was trying to make is not that hip-hop is not to blame for the messages that it conveys. All I'm saying is the rappers of today are the children of the Rick James of the past.
I have to agree. I have to agree because I think someone said earlier that parents need to take charge. There's no question about that. I have 3 young men. One's an adult and the others 2 are yet in college. But they would look at you like you're crazy if I said put on something with a rap. It's just not what they're used to. It's about the menu that they got in my house. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't presented.
Well, what happens though is for any of you who are parents and single parents too, television for the most part in the 90s and 2000s became the babysitter. So you put the TV on. A lot of parents would not monitor what their teens and toddlers were watching. So you've got, kids that are under 15 sitting watching BET and watching a whole bunch of other stuff on television. So like was said earlier, they're getting these images in their brains early out, and after a while it becomes a norm because they see it all the time. And with music, is everywhere. It's almost impossible to regulate what younger kids are listening to, because if you're a parent or you're an older brother or sibling, you can't dictate and control what your kids or what your younger brothers or sisters are listening to when they're in school, when they're hanging out with their friends, when they're swapping music on the iPods. All of that kind of stuff is out there, and music in the general context of the entertainment industry is the most accessible form of content and entertainment because, as someone said earlier, it's the cheapest entry point. You can literally make music now almost for nothing if you just have the basic recording equipment. Well, you can't make a movie, even if it's a digital movie, which is, increasing in terms of the volume of digital movies available. But the traditional movies that are running through the theaters, $500,000 and up entry point just to get the movie shot, not to mention what it takes to get it distributed. Television, we all know the number of media outlets are very limited. They're all corporately controlled, so access to TV is very, very limited. So all we have that the universe can access at any time and at any place is music. So that's why music plays such a large, influential part of all of our lives, and it's literally the food that we eat every single day. So you got to kind of figure out what you're putting in your body and then what you're putting in your mind.
I completely agree with that. I think that's a great way of putting it. And I also think that, going back to, I guess, just how people package hip-hop, we talk about it is it this or is it that? It has to be one of those things. But when in reality, for the most part, it's usually both of those things a little bit. And I think that kind of just, that's why hip-hop is what it is. And that's why jazz was what it was. Jazz came from, a blending of two very distinct musics, and and continued to develop with, different Latin influences, different, it continues to develop now, I think, as hip-hop, because I think it became hip-hop. And that what hip-hop does now is that, you may have the current trend is club music. Club music is so hot right now. But still, you have artists like Kanye or even Lil Wayne from now and then will drop some knowledge and will actually, say something that maybe it's not the prettiest thing you ever heard or the most idealistic, moral statement, but it actually says something about reality as it is. It makes you think harder. And the fact that you hear it in a club, maybe it doesn't impact you the same way, but the fact that it's out there, you can't just write off all music that sounds like that as bad, because people like Tupac changed the whole world. He changed our generation in, creating this music that was revolutionary while at the same time gangsta. Kids wanted to listen to that because they were like, no, Mom, I don't want you to tell me what to do. I'm from the suburbs. 70% of music purchases for hip-hop, in the physical form of CDs is it's well over 70%. I think 75 is white, mostly suburban teens, suburban and urban teens who really feel like what the music's saying. And I think that the, reactionary or the negative reaction to mainstream values is just an appealing aspect of it. So you can do that in different ways. And I think that we're going to start to see that more in the future, is that it's not just going to be either positive or negative or conscious or club. It's going to be a blend of both.
Well, I don't think nobody at this panel said that hip-hop was all bad. Stephen can tell you, I teach aerobics. I spend a whole lot of time downloading. I pay for my music on iTunes, by the way. But downloading music so we can work out, and we work out to Laffy Taffy, and but I'm not playing Soulja Boy. But there are, there's music that's worth listening to, and it doesn't have to have a social conscious message. It can be silly, it can be fun. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be in your face filthy. And if it is, then it should be in your car, on your iPod, and not, booming down the streets or at your house where the whole neighborhood can hear it.
Again, that goes back to there has to be some control from the parents from the very beginning. I think that's where we need to focus as you guys become parents and or have children. I think that you need to start there. And again, I say it again, my children were just not exposed to it. Simple as that. And maybe they snuck and heard it at school, but it never came across my door. So I think we have to make some decisions about we as citizens of the world, we need to finally decide on what our children will say and do, and we have to teach that every day.
again to all the panelists once again. We're not closing just yet, though. We're not closing right now. We just want to open up the floor to any audience questions if you have some you want to ask.